Hey, welcome to the Paralyzed to Prosperous. Yo, listen, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited for this week. This is your guy, Jorge A. Sierra, with my co host, Alalai, our brother, DJ, aka Deacon, aka Steez, is not here today. We miss you, we miss you, we miss you, but he's out here, celebrating with his other better half, or other half. Let me not say better half, right? His other half on vacation. So, shout out to my brother. But today it's myself, my co-host, and we have a special guest. We have a
Yes,
special
we
guest.
do.
Special guest. But before we do that, Alalai, how you holding up? How you doing? Talk to us.
Yeah, I am great. Today's been a long day, but as always, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to dive into this topic. Let's help the good people. Let's see what comes up because I'm pretty sure our special guest is gonna bring some heat, and I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
always excited once this comes because she has a very unique way of communicating things. So I'm excited that she's here.
Oh Lord, yeah, she does. I promise you. And so listen, man, let's not even hold off too much. We have our special guest today. It's the first time that the Queen, my wife, my BFF, has appeared and blessed us with her presence on the Paralyzed to Prosper podcast. Kayla, aka Miss Sierra, aka like how everybody love how I say her name, Kayla. But yeah, Keila, how you doing? Welcome on the podcast. How you feeling? How you holding up,
Hey,
girl?
I'm gonna just
Miss.
I'm gonna just start by saying this, y'all. Fear not, the party has arrived. I am here. I
Hey.
am here to turn things up. I'm feeling good. It's been a beautiful day. It's been a beautiful day.
Hey, listen, man. For you guys that been tuning in, first of all, before we get started, we appreciate you. The subscribes has been outrageous. The love across the board. You guys have been really connected with us and really showing the love, and we appreciate you because this was just an idea. Months ago, even probably a year or two ago, and here we are. And so I'm super excited to not only share this with my co-host Alalai, my brother DJ, but now the Queen, the wifey, my BFF, is able to come on and share some knowledge. And again, I agree with Alalai. She has a way of articulating herself and really helping others because I'll be honest with y'all. Y'all get geeked about me being able to say certain things and just kind of being myself. But Kayla is a lot of time my ghostwriter. She's the one that, and I keep it 100. That's what this fire, like, listen, we're going to talk about a few things, but one of the things we're going to talk about is really just being in business for over 20 years. MVP's Barbershop is one of the businesses that we both own, and Kayla has been able to bless the kid, myself, and just the business for the last 10 years. But before we get into that, I just really, Kayla, like, not only welcome, but like, I hope that this is not the last, right? I hope you bless us here and there with your presence. But yeah, man, how you holding up? How you feeling? Talk to us.
I,
Talk to them, man.
I'm feeling good. Listen, you got to keep it exciting. A new voice is, change of sound. You feel me? This will definitely
Hmm.
be my last time here, but I'm excited to get into it. The purpose of us really doing this, like, if we could save y'all so much time, so much turmoil, so much
Turmoil.
frustrating from learning from our mistakes, y'all. Listen, let me tell you something. I have no experience in business prior to this. When I first joined MVPs almost 11 years ago
Yeah.
now. I felt, and I always say this, I felt literally like a little baby tadpole being thrown into the ocean of sharks. When I tell y'all, they done chewed me up, spit me out, chewed me back up again, spit me out to a point where I was just like, all right, enough. I was fighting for my life in there. I'm being a little dramatic, but for real, like anybody that's in business
Nah, I
knows,
think you was definitely fighting
like
for your life, man.
there's
Yeah.
there's sometimes in business where you just hanging on by a thread,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
I know that if we can, we're not gonna get into everything because we will be here. It will be a Netflix series that y'all will,
That might be
but
that might be that might be something in the future though.
I think that it's gonna be dope. I just reflect back. on doing a then, like how I was starting off, no business experience. Let me start off by saying this. Your girl got fired by a couple jobs.
She got fired on her day off.
I'm a
Just
I was a little spicy when
Hey,
I was
I lie.
younger.
She got fired on her day off. I promise you.
Keila.
I'm gonna give away my age a little bit, but I started cutting hair when I was 21. Young, stupid, but I had a drive. I wanted better for myself and I was willing to figure it out, and it didn't matter how many times people chewed me up and spit me out, which one thing that they wasn't going to do was they was not going to get rid of me. I was going to fight. And so here we are, a decade later, and I have learned, I have evolved, and now we lead a team of people.
Yeah.
And it's not just a team of people, because we've been through some teams. Okay, we our staff, we have 6 people, and everyone's been there from a range of 9 years. Got a couple there,
10 years.
yeah, like, well,
10 years or better. Right?
about
That's
nine
like
years
yeah.
and like 6 years, a little, like, people have been there for a long time within the past decade, so we've been able to maintain the team that we have built, and that speaks a lot, you know, of being able to maintain a team, especially at a place where there are no physical financial benefits that we can provide, such as healthcare or anything. So it's not like they're not there based on stuff that they can take from us besides a positive environment. We've created an environment for people to grow. We all generally love being around each other, and we all have a great time doing what we're doing while able to build a legacy for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think it's important, right? And the reason that we started this conversation is because Kayla and I are going into 2024 of doing 20 years in business. And so I want you to really listen to this, guys, right? Because, the Paralyzed to Prosper podcast, it consists of not only personal or professional journey and how to go from that paralyzed mindset to the prosper mindset. And so I come across a lot of folks where they get beside themselves or surprised, better for better words, that number one, that I'm a barber, right? And so, you guys have heard in other episodes where, how I've been able to, dominate a industry that consists of standing up. I did a sitting down, and I did that, and we're still doing it. But the reality is this: the last decade, there was a shift, and we had to make a shift. And I think in previous podcasts, I talked about when there was a season where Jorge was the owner, driving up to the barbershop, putting all his barbers
Yeah.
in his car, going to smoke bud, aka weed. For if you don't, for those that don't understand the
Weed ratchet.
yeah,
Old man lingo.
yeah, I was definitely, but I share that because there's full transparency, right? It's like what you're doing right now doesn't have to, like, where you are right now doesn't have to be your future, and that's why I'm so transparent of this, because if we're gonna keep it 100, we gotta operate off of who we are. And so that was a transition, that was a season that was, it was borderline. Not only we were blessed, but I was almost in alignment to losing everything if I would have continued with that behavior. When Kayla came into the picture, it gave me it gave me someone to trust. It gave me someone to be able to build with. And so that was a transition within itself, because again, Jorge's accustomed to making decisions on his own and kind of just doing things one way and one way only. So as we transitioned through that LLI, it was more like, okay, understanding how to lead with more than one leader in the group, right? And so that's really where I want to start talk. I want to touch on, right. There's so many layers, and for the next couple of weeks, couple of months, going into 2024, we're gonna, and not just me, Kayla's, most likely gonna join and talk about these 20 lessons that we actually have learned through the last 20 years of doing business as entrepreneurs. And be honest with you, it started off entrepreneurs, but now we're entering this business mindset, which is different. I want you guys to really understand
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and doing business. It's the next level up. And so, Kayla and I have been able to entrepreneur at a certain level, and now we understand the ethics, right? The processes for us to get to a point that we are actually creating generational wealth, where we are actually becoming the
Mhm.
brand that has been a staple in the Worcester, Massachusetts area for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
not only serving our clients but providing jobs. Like Kayla kind of said, we did this for many years the wrong way, and now we're doing it the right way. But that took a level of her and I kind of really understanding not only who we are, how we receive
Mhm.
information, and how we um, are able to use our superpower. Like we always like to talk about, to be able to navigate a team lead. Because two captains, that's not usually what's the word,
Mhm.
cohesive. Like that's not usually it doesn't really work at times because one might be pulling from one direction, the other one might be pulling from the other.
Yeah, so let's start right there. So you guys did this major pivot in how you were running the barbershop. How did y'all decide what direction to go in?
Go ahead. I'll let you shine some light on there.
Well, honestly, it really it's funny how it happened. When I first started, I want to say it was like the first 2 years that were really the hardest when I went in. And
Mhm.
truthfully, Jorge was working full time as the director of the barbering program. And while he was working full time, I was just this new barber, no clients, trying to figure things out. And there was a team of fire barbers, like very well established, had their clientele, but they also had a system or lack thereof where they were kind
Mhm.
of able to do whatever they want, however they
No
wanted.
man's land. That's what that was.
And there was no man's land, no woman's land. Like there was no
Mhm.
female barber in there, right? So here
Mhm.
I am, this new barber, this
Mhm.
woman, and Jorge is basically like, okay, now you're in charge because he had established a trusting relationship with me. And I had
Mhm.
no bias to it, right? I was operating off of principle that he taught me.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I was doing. Um, Long story short, Jorge gets sick, very, very sick, to the point where he needs a surgery that takes almost a year for him to heal. It was a bed sore that had gotten so infected that it went into a bone, and
Mm.
he had to be on bed rest. So while he wasn't around, the whole team abandoned ship. Everybody left.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I myself and two other barbers that have only been working at that time maybe for like a couple weeks, they also didn't have any bias, so they stayed. So there was three of us,
Oh,
and
And
that
there was a group of what, nine,
there was
12?
lit no there were 13 barbers,
Yeah. So mind you, out of 30
before he got sick.
including myself and the other two new.
Mhm.
So about 10 of them
Mhm.
left.
abandoned ship.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
our business is open 7 days a week.
Mm.
And we're walk-in based. So you have myself and these other two barbers who don't really have a clientele.
Brand new. Then you
We're
guys are.
eating off these walk-ins. We
Yeah.
don't really know what we're doing, but we figured it out, and we
Mhm.
held it down for the a whole year that Jorge was in the hospital, and it was
Mhm.
literally all learning through mistakes, what not to
Okay.
do, and that took time, and
Mhm.
I mainly just focused on what I did have in my advantage, because one thing I know about God is you will never lack anything, even if it seems like
Mhm.
lacking almost everything and you don't know what to do. He always
Yeah.
has this grace over your life to teach you, right? So
Mhm.
he has always placed role models in our life to kind of identify, okay, that works for them, so we applied it. And he's also placed people in our life as like, I definitely don't want that for myself. So no, we pushed through. And those
Mhm.
two barbers are actually still with us to this day. We basically
That's
like
what's up.
yeah, it's really dope. We always reflect back like, wow, we
Mhm.
kind of grew up together because we're all the same age. And
I
Mhm.
raised them all.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Really?
I think the main thing that I learned that I really um, I think about it all the time is when you're in a people based business, you're working with people,
Mhm.
right? And in service, you deal with a lot. Let me not say deal, you experience a lot of different personalities, especially
Right.
when you're working. We have a business that's in a urban community, low income,
Mhm.
different people from all walks of life. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
strong personalities, and I was with all of it because my personality was very strong too. But I had this street mentality when I started, and it just was
Mhm.
not representative of a leader. I was
Mhm.
representing our brand in a very poor way. And looking back and taking accountability for my actions, I had a lot to do with not making the other barbers comfortable that abandoned ship. I just
Okay.
didn't know how to. And there
Mhm.
was a lot. I can, it's so easy to point the finger and be like, well, they act this way, they could have did this, they could have did that. That's out of my control. Now,
Mhm.
as I'm grown and I'm more mature, not only as a person, but as a
Mhm.
leader, it doesn't matter the personality traits of your team. Like, you really
Mhm.
have to focus as a leader and lead by example, right? You can't change people's character, but you have 100% control of your environment. And I've learned
Mhm.
how to set healthy, solid boundaries that a lot of people with a certain mindset wouldn't agree with, but
Mhm.
perfect because it filters out the type of behavior that we don't want for our brand.
Right.
Example, if you love to smoke weed, I don't care what you do outside of business hours, outside of our establishment. A non
Yeah.
negotiable, you cannot be under the influence while you are working in our establishment because we need you alert, we need you sober,
Mhm.
we need you to make sure that
Mhm.
you are on your P's and Q's,
Mhm.
customer service wise. And there's some people that they don't like that, so they leave and go to other barbershops where they are
And
allowed
that's okay.
to smoke that breaks.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Mhm.
I mean,
Complete
Mhm.
today, what perfect today was the perfect example of that. But before,
Mhm.
and the reason I say that is because somebody that was a client that been going to the barbershop for years, um,
Mhm.
opened a cannabis business, and he was just sitting there talking about how he wanted to team up with my barbershop and blase blase. So yeah, I haven't seen this person for a while, borderline, just caught me by surprise. And he's just, as I roll in, he's like, yo, this is some opportunities. I want to be able to team up with not only your barbershop, but other barbershop in the city. And I let him talk and I congratulate him about it, but I stopped. And when he was persistent, I had to really politely say that that goes against our brand. I say, yo, I
Mhm.
appreciate you, but that just doesn't align with the brand that I have. And so, even though I'm super excited for you, congratulations.
Yeah.
But that just
Yeah.
doesn't. That's just not something that we. And he was like, "Oh no, no!" Like he received it because I
That's
did it with
good.
love. But it's going back to what Kayla. It took us a long time, Alalai, to really. And I
Yeah.
want everybody to understand this as you listen to this. It took us like you cannot create like if we didn't know who we were, we would have jumped on that foolishness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you
And
gotta.
it's not even foolishness. It's just not aligned with our brand.
That's
Period.
no, no. That's why I say it's foolishness because it doesn't align with who I am, right? Like that's
Correct.
like it could be liquor, it could be whatever it
Right.
is. It's just not. It's not. It's not who we are. And so I don't say foolishness to disrespect anybody that is in that business or does smoke. Like that's we're not that's not what we, and I hope you don't, that's not what you get out of it. What I'm saying is this, is that if you don't know who you are, the distractions
Mhm.
and just the opportunities that not every month, not all opportunities are good opportunities for you.
Right.
And so going back to what Kayla was kind of describing, it took us a long time to get here
Mhm.
and really stand
Mhm.
on our 2 feet and understand who we are and understand what direction God has us as not only as a unit but as a brand, and that really took between Kayla and I, and we still learning. It's how to manage to lead our not only our team, our community.
Mhm.
There's times right before we jump on this on this call. I mean on this podcast, we were talking about that there's seasons or times where Kayla leads and I slide to the back, and then there's times where get myself in the front and Kayla slides to the back. So you just got to
Mhm.
understand what that is for you, especially in the midst of operating with other individuals. That the common goal is to get what be successful, right?
Yeah.
Achieve whatever that is for yourself and the team.
Yeah. So one thing I want to say, I think it's y'all said a lot. Y'all said a lot of good stuff. So I'm gonna try to remember everything. But one thing I do want to point out for those of you that are currently running businesses, especially if you're hiring freelancers or like 1099 people to help you run your business, it's still great to have like an employee handbook or standard operating procedures so that there is a standard in place, and at any point in time that standard is broken, if they whoever you're working with is not meeting that standard, you can have a conversation with them so they can decide if they're going to continue on with you or not. But then also I think it's just great because you can always go back to it. You can always go back to what is our mission statement? What do we stand for? And you and I talked about this, Jorge, a few months ago about like being able to make decisions for the business based off of what we said we stand for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so make sure for you guys, or if you haven't launched your business yet, but you want to, and you know you're going to even either hire people, like have actual employees, or you're going to have 1099 workers, put those things in place so that there is no confusion and there is nothing to talk about. They're either going to meet the standard or they are not.
And it starts out a lot. It starts where, and this is something that Kayla and I, do on the regular, right? Because it starts with
Hmm.
your onboarding. And what I mean by
Yes.
onboarding, when you're hiring people and you're like, first of all, that was the problem that we had across the board. Myself, let me not even put it on Kayla, myself, I would, because again, right, we're chasing what? We're chasing the bag. We got
Yeah.
11 chairs. I'm ready to, like, I need all those chairs full. We need that rent. We
Hmm.
need, we need to hit a certain number. We open 7 days a week, right? So this is how my mind was working. It's like, yo, because again, what type of leader am I? I'm a task oriented
Hmm.
leader, right? Not only
Hmm.
I have the social emotional blessing to be able to communicate with people, because I do. That's what allows me to go into rooms, is because I'm able to really cultivate a certain space and really lead. But when I get into
Hmm.
that shift mind that I'm trying to solve something, there's something in me that goes from putting sugar on it to no, no, this is how we're gonna do it, right? And so I get into
Hmm.
that task mode, which ultimately it contradicts the personality that I lead with, right? My personality when I lead
Hmm.
is like I'm all about it. I'm all about the experience. But when I see it's not working, it's not what I say, it's how I say it, right? The shift
Hmm.
starts happening without everybody's like, yo, what happened? Well, what happened is that this is not working. And so I
Hmm.
start processing on how we need to fix it. And so even through that process, my mindset was like, we're just gonna hire whatever barber goes to our door. It would devalue not
Don't do
only
that.
no, but we did for
Hmm.
several years, and Kayla would
Yeah, but for
really
those listening, don't do that.
no.
You will
So
regret it, and it costs you so much more in the long run. Don't do
it
that.
Yeah.
cost us a lot, a lot. It cost us
Mhm.
amazing teams. It cost us relationships. It cost us, and nobody to blame but us. Kayla said it earlier. It's easy to point the finger, and after 20 years, I'll be honest with you. One of the things that I realized is that the first lesson that I could give anybody out there that is starting entrepreneurship or is in the midst of entrepreneurship or doing business is that, yo, you got to look in the mirror, and you always got to take the responsibility, even if it's not on you.
Absolutely.
That's a true leader. That right there. That ultimately led to, and I'll let Kayla shine in on it, but ultimately led to what you're saying, Alala, and what Kayla was kind of jumping on, is that we needed to create a system and a process, not only how we onboard people, but what do we stand for, right? And so
Mhm.
we started looking at it like, yo, like, okay, we can't be having people here that are all about, smoking, are all about just their values got aligned with where we at and where we going, better yet. And
Mhm.
so that took a while, Kayla, right or wrong. Like that took a while to really even for us to kind of align ourselves the right way. But once God
Yeah.
positioned us and gave us the clarity, it was so easy because now when somebody comes to MVP, there's what? There's an onboarding process. We don't
Mhm.
care. Like the last thing, and I'm shout out to anybody that's ever been part of MVPs. We love you. We appreciate you. You're part of the journey. We could have not whether it was in a good level. We left off good or bad. Kayla and I always look at those situations and be like, yo, it was on us. But we appreciate you because it allow us to learn. Through some situations, and it made us better. Not only
Mhm.
owners, leaders, but people in general. And so now is when somebody comes in, Alalai, I'll be honest with you, the last thing we think about, the last thing we really worry about is you cutting hair.
Mhm.
Absolutely, because you can teach people how to
Yeah.
cut hair. You can't teach somebody how to
Yeah.
be honest, despite how hard it is to have those conversations, right? You can't teach
Yeah.
somebody to not be thirsty when a woman is in the shop. You can't teach certain people character, noble character.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
take somebody that really doesn't have the experience and I will gladly invest my time and teach them. Because at the end of
Mhm.
the day, my gift is not mine anyways. God gave me that gift.
Amen.
And it's
Yeah.
there to teach. So I'll do that all day long with
Mhm.
somebody that has great character. And I think a lot of times people want, and I notice this not only just in business, but I notice it in relationships too. People want the
Mhm.
completed package without willing
Mhm.
to invest and teach. When that, like
Yeah.
I said, that gift is not yours just for you. We're here to literally
Mhm.
multiply, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get so protective and territorial, rightfully so, over their business when
Mhm.
people on because sometimes you don't know people's intention. Oh, are they just gonna come and take my clients and then start their own thing? That's why it's so
Mhm.
important to have God involved in your business. So you have that
Mhm.
spirit of just like being able to discern, right? And just knowing that no one can take anything from you that God gave you, right? That
Yeah.
was another thing that we really developed some trust issues when we had gotten um, betrayed many times from certain people.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but we learned like to just pour into our team no matter what. And if they
Mhm.
decide to do something that's shady, it's not on us. Like, just
Yeah.
give it to God and let go. And to be honest with you, when we started having that mindset, we don't experience those problems at all.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, God has showed us that we could lose our entire team and have the ability to build from the ground up all over again. You know?
That's
So,
good.
yeah,
So, and I was into the ask this earlier. Was there ever a time for the ones that left that you asked those people to come back?
never.
I,
Never.
In the 10 years I've been there, I have
Mhm.
we haven't gone and asked people to come back, but some people have asked to come
Yeah.
back. And as long as
Okay.
they have left with respect, we gladly we there's a lot of people that have left and
Mhm.
it wasn't even over no bad blood. It's just some shot
They
like
decided to leave.
some systems are different for everybody, right? And they always
Yeah.
have a chair, welcome back. Like
Yeah, my
there's no
biggest
issue
my,
with
my
it.
biggest thing with that, right? And this is something that even working with certain organizations right now that I'm blessed to be able to position to work with certain organizations that have multiple areas to their business. And onboarding
Mhm.
is number one and it's important. Why? Because
Yeah.
it's what you said, Adelaide. You like this is not personal. This is what the company stands for on. This is
Mhm.
the values
Mhm.
of the company. So that's important. You have to understand that. So when people leave, as long as you gave your 2 week notice, you did it with love and respect, right? The door is always open for you. We're never gonna
Yeah.
look at you in a way like, oh, nah, it was good because that's doing business with emotions. what the reality
Mm-hmm.
is kind of Kayla touched on it, is that we do have a system. That system is not for everybody. Our brand doesn't really represent, it's not for everybody that wants to be uh, be God led, right? Like we operate with God. Like we're not perfect. We're not saying here telling you that we don't do
Yeah.
mistakes. What we do say is that, yo, that's God's house. And so we pray
Mm-hmm.
over that business. We make sure that anybody that doesn't align with that brand, God, remove them from our, whether it's clients, protect our clients, protect our barbers, protect anybody that we're doing, where we're affiliated with. And sometimes that's just, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't align with certain other individuals. That doesn't make them bad people.
Right.
But it goes back
Right.
to us understanding who you are. And I think that, going back to why we speak in this, is like a lot of you guys that are entering entrepreneurship or are in an entrepreneur, you let the world fix you to become something you're not. Like you're adapting values of
Mm-hmm.
other brands and other, and so that's why, most likely you find yourself not being as productive or achieving what you're seeking, because you're all over the place. And so one thing that I realized, and I think this is something that, even as a speaker, Alalai, and we talk about it all the time. Man, I'm Jorge. That's it. I can't. I was guilty of it, because
Mm-hmm.
you want better, right? This is for those that are there that want better, are really trying to put themselves in the room. You got to be careful, right? Don't become a copy of nobody. You take the
Yeah.
meat and you throw away the bone, but be true to who you are, and that's something that nobody could do for you but yourself.
Yeah. Um, that's good. What are two tips that y'all could give people about the onboarding process, something they should implement in their onboarding process?
Don't get so thirsty for
Mm.
help that you're willing to
Mm-hmm.
go against your values, because you're going to devalue yourself, your company, and what you stand for long term.
Mm-hmm.
You may get that short term
Mm-hmm.
satisfaction, right? Your revenue
Yeah.
will be up for a little bit, but long term, you're going to damage your revenue because it's going to clash.
Yeah.
Um, that's one major tip. And my second tip is don't rush your decision out of desperation either. Like really
Mm-hmm.
sit on it for don't sit on it too long, right? But really identify
Yeah.
and make sure that you're moving intentionally on what you're going to do
Mm-hmm.
with this person, and don't grab them without being willing to invest in this person and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately duplicate yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. If I had to add one thing to that, is
Mm-hmm.
don't compromise, right? And sometimes your instincts, you make a decision and you kind of bypass that Holy Ghost
Mm-hmm.
kind of telling you, that's not it, right? And so let's say we get past what Kayla said, and we gave, someone an opportunity. What I've
Mm-hmm.
learned, any cancerous behavior is cancer. I don't care if it was
Mm-hmm.
just a little that will turn into something bigger. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been in position where our team has been hijacked by other
Mm.
barbers,
Oh
and has
yeah.
taken over our
Yeah.
team. Mind you, at one point we lost 10 barbers because it was hijacked, right? And that was nobody's fault but ours, because we had
Mm-hmm.
let number one, we allowed, let me rephrase. I've allowed certain behaviors to go un
Addressed.
address, because of everything
Mm-hmm.
else, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
the filling the position, or like a relationship. And you have to understand
Mm-hmm.
that this is not about Kayla or I. This is all about what? The brand. And when you don't make it about
Mm-hmm.
what Kayla is Kayla's choice or Jorge's choice, it's what's best for the brand, then that's when you
Mm-hmm.
don't you don't take up you don't devalue, or what is the word that I was just using earlier, which is
Compromise.
compromise, right? You don't compromise, because that's not what we stand on. So I believe that
Yeah.
that right there, compared to, I mean, added to what Kayla was actually talking about, is one of the biggest lessons we've learned in the last 20 years, as
Mm-hmm.
onboarding, because that has allowed us right now to seek a quality of leader, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about barbers, right? We want professionals. We could teach you how to cut
Right.
hair. And I think people kind of miss that. It's like, yo, if you have an entrepreneur, if you have a business that happens to cut hair or happens to serve people food, you are in the people's business. So you need to have people of character because these individuals represent you and your brand.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. And I hope that people, even if you aren't running a business right now, maybe you're in a traditional corporate setting, gonna need you to listen to it because it's very valuable. I've seen it time and time again of hiring people out of desperation. And when I say it is costly, it is so costly on so many levels. And I would even add to that when you are selecting people to build out these teams, no matter how intricate the team is or not, please take time. Kind of like Kayla said, like don't rush that process. But I need you to think deeper than what's on paper because these people lie, y'all. They
Oh,
lie on their resume. They lie about their skill set. They lie about their certifications, and
character.
you exactly. And you need to be able to really like, especially in the interview process, whatever your onboarding or interview process is, really get a feel for these people and take your time and listen. Because there are quite a few people that are so caught up in making the sales or getting the money or getting the client, they will completely burn down the building for the
Yes.
sake of getting that little piece of money, right? And that's not who you want on your team. Those are not the type of people that you want building out to build out a brand with. So yeah, I'm glad you shared that because I see that time and time and time again, particularly with hiring managers, the people
Absolutely.
that actually do the recruiting and not there.
That's it's I like that right there, that right there. But mind you, real quick, right? Mind you, I'm glad you brought that up because again, it's easy for us to blame it on entry level folks, but let's really
Mm-mm.
talk about management. Let's talk about leadership, right? And
Yes,
this is where we started this conversation with not blaming the teams we had, but really talking about where we were. And I
who's in
believe that
charge? Yeah.
that's corporate, entrepreneur, business, just in general,
Hmm.
leaders within the teams. You have to really organizations really evaluate who's leading your teams, evaluate
Constantly.
constantly, right? And this is where I believe and like I want to add this. I believe that it's so important. Not only we what we've learned to cultivate in our business, and it's stuff that I help other organizations actually do in their establishment is have monthly meetings, check-ins, right? Continue development. There's one-on-ones, right? Why?
Hmm.
We're in a generation now. We're in different times that people constantly need to know that you're there for them. And so the bigger the company, the more you feel like you're just a number. And so it doesn't matter what size your company is. I don't care if it's a barbershop the size that a small barbershop like ours or an organizations that have 6,000 folks. You
Yeah.
have to cultivate an environment where people feel appreciated and they know that they mean they're of value, right? And so
Hmm.
one of the things that I'm learning is that if you're not meeting with your team once a month, if you're not doing one-on-one meetings, that right there cultivates cancerous behaviors. And what I mean by cancerous behaviors is that someone in that establishment, someone in that department, someone in that team is going to hijack your employees, your people that you do business with. And so as leaders, right, CEOs understand this, right? Those individuals that are overseeing a lot of folks, you have to sometimes walk down from the top to the bottom. Number one,
Hmm.
align yourself with who these leaders are, these managers, and then make sure that you build a relationship with everybody in there and that they are felt like they are part of the decision making, that they are part of the transition, and that they're being heard. And the only way that I've known and proven the concept is by doing what? Team meetings, is by having those managers doing one-on-one check-ins. Nothing about nothing, because when you ask as a manager, you ask somebody, "Yo, let me meet with you," automatically they think they did something wrong. That's a problem. You should be able to have a relationship report with people that work with you, not under you, but work with you, and they know that you're that you have their best interest, because if you got their best interest, that means that the company's trust level is going to go high. That means that
Mhm.
the results of whatever it is you're looking for, the revenue, whatever it is going to be at a high level, and the
Yeah.
investment or the cost of emotional or cost of doing business is low. So I want you to really remember,
Mhm.
if the company has the trust level within your teams, right? The three,
Mhm.
whether it's entry level, middle management, and executive, that trust level is gonna make it's gonna productivity is gonna move along. That means that the emotional cost, the the finance burden that your company goes through by firing and hiring and turnovers,
Mhm.
that's gonna go down. But once that trust goes down, everything else is gonna go high, and then you're gonna have
Mhm.
yourself a problem. Which that's what happened after COVID, 2020. After we post COVID, companies didn't understand that we shift as a nation. We shift that in the world. Like, it's a different ballgame now. You gotta people understood that it's not worth sacrificing, especially for
Yeah.
those companies that don't care about you. So I know I went on a
Yeah.
rant, but I think that that's just important.
No, that's good. I mean, I think, emotional intelligence has to lead the way especially when you lead people. You have to have some emotional intelligence. And the reality is, your team can only go as far as you go.
Yeah.
So, if you're in a position of leadership, you have people under you, you have to continue to evolve. You have to continue to get better, become sharper, become a quicker thinker, really connect with your team and build those relationships. And sometimes for some of them, it don't even have to be super deep. They just speak in the morning when you see them. You know what I'm saying? Speak, be considerate. Ask them if they, their family member is sick. Ask them about that stuff. And it's interesting because it sounds so simple, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
And again, this whatever the classification is, the W-2 or 1099 or whatever, you have a unique opportunity to build relationships and lead people. That's only going to go as far as you go. And so, if you're a leader in a position and your team is not functioning, it's probably you, friend. It's probably you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, before we wrap it up, Kayla, any final words you want to tell the folks? Closing up.
Yeah, I just want to speak quickly to the introverts who are leaders, right? Who are passionate about people, but you may not know how to build relationship with your team, or you just don't have the confidence, or you don't have the social battery to, right? And I'm speaking from experience. Um, for a long time, I would do the bare minimum when it would come to communicating. Asking somebody how their day is not hard for me because I genuinely care. But I had to make an adjustment that even if I didn't feel like it, not because so much for the other person, but I just maybe didn't have the energy to, I learned the importance of being
Mhm.
so intentional every single day on making sure I fill my cup. So, not having the social battery is not even an excuse, because they will find another company, or they will find another quote unquote toxic coworker that will have the social battery, right?
Yeah.
And they will kind of sway left, right?
Hmm.
And so you have to be intentional on making sure that you fill yourself up and step out of your comfort zone, right? And like LLI said, it really doesn't have to be deep. It's really just doing a check in, right? That
A genuine check in
a
because
gen-
they can tell if you're faking
yeah,
it.
just being intentional and keeping that in mind, it can go such a long way. Um,
Yeah.
Even during COVID, you may not feel like you have anything to meet about, still meet. We met when our business was closed for 7 months during COVID via Zoom because we genuinely just wanted to keep the momentum. We weren't talking about business. We were just, how's
Hmm.
everyone doing mentally? Do you need any resources? These are some resources that we had, and we still keep that tradition going. And I think it's also important to, when you notice one of your employees or even one of your coworkers doing something great, right? Doesn't have to be
Mhm.
big. Acknowledge it, praise them, right? Like you're going, the energy you focus on is is what you're gonna get back. So that's
Mhm.
my 2 cents, y'all. That's all I have.
I love it. I love it. I love
She
it.
has tons more, but we'll let off the hook this
Hey,
time.
listen, man. Look, we're gonna have her back, and it was a blessing. Alala is correct. Kayla is she brings a lot to the table. I want to take the
Mhm.
opportunity to not only tell you I love you, I appreciate you, and thank you for taking the journey and just dealing with my craziness.
Thank you. I love you too.
Because it's not leadership, right? Like again, I want you
Mhm.
guys to understand this. And but before I close it, Ala, like anything you have add um to everything we were talking.
No, not really. I think Kayla said it all, right? Which is just like be intentional, take your time, be thoughtful in the decisions that you are making as a leader and how you're building out your teams. And just know that it's worth it. Like taking your time is worth it because the end result is better than rushing through the process.
Yeah, yeah. So listen, man, we love you. We appreciate you guys. Again, one of the things that Kayla mentioned to me, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but she was like timing. Timing is everything. And God, and she reminded me that God will take you from the back of the line and bring you up to the front of the line. And so even
Hmm.
though you think you're running out of time, even though you think you ran out of time or you don't have what it takes to get to that point in life, just slow down enough to lead with character, slow down enough to lead with that heart posture that always Kayla always reminds me to have when you're dealing with people, and better yet, just the characteristics of God, right? And so when you have that, you're not gonna lose. And so again, man, we appreciate you. We love you. For those that have been subscribing and continue to subscribe and put other people on into the podcast, I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for rocking with the kid and rocking with the team. We're gonna continue to thrive. We're gonna continue to, bring information to the table and share it as we enter these new rooms, right? And so again, don't forget what I always say, that number one, I love you. Continue to walk forward, but most importantly, God loves you. And so I want you to remember that life is what you make it. And as long as you have that in mind and always have with the intentions to leave right, God is going to handle what you can take care of. So I love y'all. I'll see you next week. And we're going to continue to rock out. Peace.
Bye, guys.